The top stories tonight in Y News.
13 billion pesos from its funds for the ECQ cash assistance.
More Filipino athletes are winning medals at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
And in UNTV's interview with Olympic gold medalist Heidelin Diaz, know the challenges she faced and her future plans following her Olympic victory. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, August 3, 2021.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website untvweb.com. I am Harleen Delgado.
First in the news, public transportation will be retained in Metro Manila during the imposition of another enhanced community quarantine or ECQ on Friday. However, the public is advised to follow the guidelines enforced by the government to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains to us why.
Only authorized persons outside residents or workers of industries allowed by the government will be permitted to travel within the National Capital Region during enhanced community quarantine. So whether one will be commuting via public or private vehicle, they should have ready an identification issued by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases or any other pertinent ID or document to prove that they are authorized to travel. This as the IATF allows mobility during the implementation of ECQ in the metropolis with the same capacity and supply of public transportation as what is currently operating.
Ang ating mga apor po ay papayagan pa rin pong lumabas para makapagtrabaho at para magbigay serbisyo sa publiko. Pati naman po yung ating mga essential services at essential travel at pinapayagan naman po ng ating IATF. Sa napag-usapan po namin at napag-agrihan po namin lahat, ang public transport po will continue to operate during the ECQ from August 6 to 9 to 20 at the same capacity and at the same supply po ng mga public transport. So tuloy-tuloy lang po ang ating public transport for this coming ECQ.
Based on the recommendation of the Department of Transportation, public transportation will retain its passenger capacity, which is 30% in railways. City and provincial buses, traditional and modern jeepneys, and UV Express services still have 50% capacity. Taxis and transport network vehicle services will only have 2 passengers per row with only driver in the front row. Tricycle with 1 passenger in its sidecar and no back ride, while motorcycle taxis will be based on the pilot study and the guidelines set by the National Task Force or NTF against COVID-19. Authorities will strictly implement the 1-seat apart rule in all mass public transport vehicles as well as private conveyances like shuttle services. Marshals would also be strictly enforcing the 7 commandments of public transport safety at the transport stations and terminals and inside public transport vehicles. Private cars and sports utility vehicles should also observe accommodating only 2 passengers per row with only the driver in the front row. Non-public motorcycles should also follow the NTF guidelines. The DOTr strongly recommends the public to use active transport including bicycle and electric scooters. The DOTr, however, assures that public transport drivers will be allowed to provide service to graveyard shift workers.
Previously discussed po with the IATF and the MMDA po. Transport workers are exempted from the curfew. Hence, the services will continue po, Mr. Chair, even after the imposition of the curfew, 8 p.m. onwards.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The World Health Organization advises our government authorities to ramp up the oxygen supply and the vaccination as COVID-19 cases in the country begin to surge amid the Delta variant. Meanwhile, community pantries will not be allowed to operate during the ECQ period in the NCR. Marvin Callas explains why.
The World Health Organization supports the country's measures to mitigate the further spread of the Delta COVID-19 variant in the country. Country Representative Dr. Rabindra Abyasinghe favors the country's implementation of lockdowns, travel ban, and the intensified COVID-19 vaccination. WHO also urged the government to prepare for additional oxygen supply in the country.
So it is now time for us to prepare for this situation in anticipation, as we do everything to try to reduce the numbers that will be generated and delayed. We need to also prepare for the eventuality that we will need more oxygen supplies so that we can better care for our patients.
The official reiterates the importance of vaccinating the most vulnerable sectors such as senior citizens and those with comorbidity to prevent hospitals getting overwhelmed following a possible Delta variant outbreak.
We have clearly seen that countries that did this, even though the increased number of cases were there, the hospital systems were able to cope. There was no overwhelming of hospitals because oftentimes the infection in younger, healthier people does not require hospitalization or intensive care support. So the hospital systems and the healthcare workers can manage that outbreak.
Furthermore, an individual cooperation of citizens to voluntarily undergo ECQ on their own was urged by the WHO to prevent the increasing COVID-19 cases in the country.
If we individually start doing a voluntary ECQ by reducing our movements, by going out only for essential activities, avoiding large-scale gatherings of get-togethers, avoiding getting together in closed, confined situations, we are going to be able to reduce the transmission.
On the other hand, the Metro Manila Mayors prohibits community pantry operations under the 2-week implementation of enhanced community quarantine in the National Capital Region. MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos says the community pantries are considered as super spreader that could cause public turmoil.
As much as possible kasi, ang purpose ng ECQ ay talagang huwag lumabas ng bahay no? Kung magpapapila tayo sa labas at magbibigay po tayo, baka magkagulo. So siguro kung talagang gustong tumulong, wala namang problema ron. Pero siguro gumawa tayo ng magandang sistema.
The MMDA advised pantry organizers to coordinate with the local government for a house-to-house delivery and distribution of goods for those in need. Marvin Calas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A group of private hospitals fears that several hospitals will be forced to shut down their operations should the uptick of COVID-19 cases overwhelm the healthcare system. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
Private hospitals have increased their bed capacity to 20% to prepare for the COVID-19 surge due to the Delta variant. But despite this, several hospitals still lack medical workers to respond to the health crisis that will affect COVID-19 patients.
Yung surge ng mga patients, yun ang kinakatakot ng mga private hospitals because very limited nga ang aming healthcare workers. Ang problem namin dyan, ang limitation ng mga private hospitals are of course the number of nurses na after the April surge, medyo may nabawasan na naman because may mga nag-resign na naman after April. So actually very limited yung aming mga healthcare workers, especially yung mga nurses.
Private hospitals complain that they no longer have the budget source to employ more nurses. This is because the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth has not yet paid the entire reimbursement claims to some partner hospitals. Dr. Jose de Grano fears that this may be a reason for some hospitals to stop their operations despite the need amid the pandemic.
Doon lang kumukuha halos, aside from the admissions at saka aside from the services na ino-offer ng mga private hospitals, malaking contribution yung PhilHealth, especially for COVID cases. Laki-laki ng mga case rate yan. Sa moderate, 143,000. Sa severe, 333,000. At critical, 786,000 per patient yan for a span of 2 weeks. Kung kukunin mo yun, talagang pag walang ibang pagkukunan ng pera na ina-advance sa mga private hospitals, mauubusan ng resources ang private hospitals.
PhilHealth has refused to respond on our request to comment on the issue of reimbursement. Meanwhile, the Department of Health will provide augmentation team to private hospitals experiencing shortage of medical staff.
Yun pong ating mga private hospitals, nabibigyan din po natin sila ng tulong as to healthcare workers, nabibigyan natin ng tulong as to logistical supply. So kailangan lang pong magsabi sila sa amin para we can be able to provide them with the needed assistance.
Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, give glory to God.
The Philippines today logged 6,879 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total tally to 1,612,541. In its latest bulletin, the Department of Health said the number of active infections in the country has reached 63,137. Of these cases, 94% are mild, 1.3% are asymptomatic, 1.46% are moderate, 2.1% are severe, and 1.2% are in critical condition. The DOH noted 9 accredited testing laboratories that have failed to submit data on time, while 1 was not operational last August 1. Total recoveries rose to 1,521,263 after 6,337 more patients recovered from the viral disease. The death toll climbed to 28,141 with 48 new fatalities. Data from the DOH also showed that increasing healthcare utilization rate with 62% of the country's ICU beds occupied and 41% of ventilators are being used. In the National Capital Region, 57% of the ICU beds are occupied, while 41% of the ventilators are in use.
Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar has ordered the National Capital Region Police Office or NCRPO to ensure the strict implementation of curfew once Metro Manila is placed under ACQ. In a statement, Eleazar said the implementation of longer curfew hours in Metro Manila will complement the strict border control that is expected to be fully implemented from August 6 until August 20. The PNP chief believes that longer curfew hours would help prevent mass gatherings in communities. General Eleazar has directed police personnel to coordinate with barangay officials on enforcing the curfew. Metro Manila Development Authority Chairman Benher Abalos has earlier announced that starting Friday, August 6, local governments in Metro Manila will have a uniform curfew which begins at 8 p.m. to end at 4 a.m. The PNP personnel will also help enforce the liquor ban that will be implemented in some local government units in Metro Manila. Eleazar urges the public to strictly follow the public health and safety standards to prevent the spread of the more infectious Delta variant. The government will spend 13 billion pesos for the cash aid for residents who will be affected by the enhanced community quarantine in the National Capital Region. The so-called ayuda will be sourced out from the funds of government agencies. Rosa Licons explains why.
The 2-week strict stay-at-home order in Metro Manila from August 6 to 2021 will severely affect millions of residents. The government has allocated 13.1 billion pesos for the cash assistance of 10.7 million low-income individuals in the capital. 1,000 pesos will be distributed to each resident and maximum of 4,000 pesos per family. According to Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque, the funds will come from the savings of government agencies and departments.
Ito po'y kukunin sa savings ng lahat ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno. Ito po ay nakasaad sa Administrative Order Number 41 na linagdaan ng Presidente nung isang taon pa, or last May 12, 2021.
Based on the directive of President Rodrigo Duterte, all agencies of the Executive Department shall identify savings from their respective appropriations under the General Appropriations Act for 2020 to augment the COVID-19 response of the government.
Ang gagamitin natin para sa ayuda ay galing po sa mga, I quote, lahat ng unobligated continuing appropriations. Savings na idineklara ng mga departamento, mga ahensya, bureaus at mga opisina ng national government alinsunod nga po dito sa Administrative Order number 41.
Meanwhile, if the funds will still be not enough, the additional budget will be sourced from the collection of the Bureau of Treasury. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Millions of COVID-19 vaccines are expected to be delivered to the Philippines this month. With this, the government plans to ramp up its vaccination program amid the possible effects of the COVID-19 Delta variant on the country's health system. Michael Miguel will tell us why.
More than 22 million COVID-19 vaccines donated and procured will be delivered this August. These are COVID-19 vaccines from different manufacturers like AstraZeneca, Moderna, Sinovac, and Pfizer.
We have another 3 million incoming donation from COVAX. Hindi pa natin alam kung ano ito until we have the documents. And then we are negotiating for another 1.6 million for Sinovac to fill in our gaps for a total of 22.7 million expected deliveries for August 21.
On August 10, 1 million doses of donated Sinopharm vaccines will also arrive in the Philippines, according to the National Vaccination Operations Center or NVOC. Once the delivery is complete, there will be a total of 56.58 million COVID-19 vaccines delivered in the Philippines. From the 70 million vaccination target to achieve herd immunity, the government is also looking into the inoculation of minors with the threat of Delta COVID-19 variant. This is also part of government's ramped-up vaccination strategy.
With the Delta variant, there is a looming proposal na kailangan taasan pa yung ating vaccination coverage to 80%. So that will mean include na natin yung below 18 years old kasi karamihan po ng 70 million na covered na siya ng 18 and above. So kung mag 80% ka, ibig sabihin we will have immunization for those below 18 years old. Pinag-aaralan pa yan. We are cognizant of the fact that we really need to increase our targets, but we will need to look at our vaccine supply.
The government is also planning to inoculate 3 million doses weekly this month to achieve the 15 million total fully vaccinated Filipinos before this month ends. Undersecretary Cabutahe said the implementation of a 2-week enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila will help the government achieve the 700,000 daily vaccination rate.
We are confident that the NCR mayors are very creative. Makikita nila kung paano nila paiibayuhin with proper scheduling yung kanilang mga bakuna. Kung sakaling may a little falling short ng NCR because of the ECQ that will be implemented, kailangan din mag-ramp up yung ibang rehiyon para sabay-sabay ho tayong makakamit ng higher coverages every day.
As of August 2, there are a total of 21.2 million administered COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country. 11.8 million have received their first dose, while 9.3 million Filipinos from the priority sector are now fully vaccinated. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation has launched a vaccination drive for transport workers in Metro Manila. Nel Maribuhok reports why live. Yes, Nel, good evening. Go ahead.
Well, as part of government's effort to give assistance to those sectors who have been affected by COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Transportation has implemented programs to help the public transport sector. This is according to DOTr Assistant Secretary Steve Pastor during the hearing of the House Committee on Transportation early this afternoon.
Meron po tayo na bakuna po, na vaccination drive dito sa PITX. At karagdagan pa ho doon, simula ho kahapon, Lunes, ay lahat po ng terminal fees para po sa ating mga drivers and operators na gumagamit ng PITX ay wini-waive na rin po, ayon na rin po sa mandato ni Secretary Tugade. At ito po ay magpapatuloy habang tayo po ay lumalaban sa pandemya.
Provincial bus drivers are also part of the beneficiaries of the vaccination drive. Pastor said the government allocated 1,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines weekly to the said vaccination program. The bus company Jetliner Group asked the help of the government to convince public to get their jobs, as many of their employees are still reluctant to get the vaccine.
Out of maybe 2,500 of our employees, maybe a third or 25% at least po, are still skeptical or hesitant to go to their vaccine.
The Provincial Bus Operators Association of the Philippines appealed to the government to consider increasing the passenger capacity of buses.
Pag bakunado yung driver, bakunado yung konduktor, lahat ng protocol, ng health protocol, susundin, bakunado yung mga pasero, pwede nating dagdagan yung 50% capacity para naman kumita yung bus company po.
The transport group Piston asked the DOTr to include the family of the driver in the vaccination program. Also, they seek the government's assistance in the price increase of petroleum products.
Ayan, nananawagan kami kay Pangulong Duterte sa ating mga congressman na sana magkaroon po tayo ng price control sa produkto po ng petrolyo para at least makagapay yung kabuhayan ng mga drivers, mga operators.
House Committee on Transportation Chairman Edgar Sarmiento hopes that other local government units will help in prioritizing transport sector in their vaccination program. Will?
Yes, thank you, Nel Maribohok reporting live.
Business leaders believe that the month of August is the best time to implement the 2-week hard lockdown in Metro Manila. JP Nunez explains why.
On August 6, the strictest quarantine restriction will be imposed in National Capital Region to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant, which will last up to 2 weeks until August 20. Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion believes this will make a big loss on the profit of business owners in Metro Manila. However, this should be imposed earlier than on the fourth quarter of the year when businesses may regain profit.
Talagang mahirap. Marami rin tatamaan dito. Pero mas konti ang epekto nito kaysa mangyari ito sa fourth quarter.
On the other hand, business owners now fear losses even before the ECQ takes effect. Louis Guado, a restaurant owner, explains that 80 to 90% of their profit will be lost when ECQ comes, as al fresco dining will be prohibited.
Sa lagay ng operations namin this past few days, hindi talaga kakayanin kasi ang dami naming operating expense, rent, salary, mga utilities, water and electricity. Before, may dine-in, break even lang. Ngayon, how much more ngayon na take out lang. So right now, hindi namin iniisip na kumita. Ang pinag-uusapan ngayon is survival.
Meanwhile, an electronics and gadget shop owner, Shelani Deoso, in Green Hill Shopping Center will also need to close her business. With the prohibition, they plan to bring their products at home and sell it online.
Ang nangyari po sa amin last time na nagka-ECQ, inuwi po namin mga gadgets namin. Dahil nga, syempre kailangan natin kumita, in-online po namin siya. So nakakabenta naman po, malaki pong bawas kasi po last time nag-ECQ almost 80 to 90% po yung nabawas na kita namin. Kulang po talaga.
A town hall meeting will be conducted tomorrow by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority and other stakeholders. This is to discuss on how small business owners will receive their cash aid from the government. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, a new COVID-19 variant of interest called the Lambda variant poses a new threat as experts discover that it is resistant against vaccines. Charisse Lamboan will tell us why live. Yes, Charisse?
Steph, the Lambda variant of COVID-19, first identified in Peru on August 2020, stirs up fear amongst health experts as it is shown to be more transmissible and more resistant against current vaccines. Laboratory experiments show that 3 mutations in Lambda spike protein neutralize antibodies induced by vaccines. Additionally, 2 other mutations make it highly infectious. The variant is currently labeled by the World Health Organization as a variant of interest. However, bioRxiv health researchers on a non-peer-reviewed research paper warn that the threats the Lambda variant poses is likely to make it a variant of concern. More studies are required to identify precise information on the mutation's transmissibility, severity of disease, and resistance against vaccines. Despite the uncertainty, experts are still positive about the efficacy of the vaccines. Microbiologist Nathaniel Lando from NYU Grossman School of Medicine on another non-peer-reviewed paper stated that mRNA vaccines, including Moderna and Pfizer, still offer protection against both the Delta and Lambda variants. So far, the Lambda variant has been identified in 29 countries around the world. Steph?
Charisse, how is Peru affected by the Lambda variant?
Steph, the Lambda variant is now the dominant strain as accounts for 80% of COVID-19 cases from April in the country. Peru has now recorded the highest COVID death rate per head globally with 180,000 COVID deaths to date. Steph?
Thank you, Charisse, for that report. Following the COVID outbreak of Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane is facing pressure due to the current COVID-19 situation unfolding in the said state. Marvy Delphine will tell us the details live. Yes, Marvy?
Steph, amid the Delta variant cases spike in Queensland, over 300 healthcare workers are in isolation after being associated with the COVID-19 cluster, putting a strain on the state's healthcare system. According to Deputy Premier Stephen Miles, due to the shortage of doctors and health workforce, elective surgeries and appointments are being categorized and rescheduled. According to Chief Health Officer Jeanette Young, it is unfortunate, but the quarantine is needed to prevent the spread of the virus, as a huge number of healthcare workers were family to children who were exposed to the recent school outbreak. In line with this situation, the COVID-19 care facilities are being enhanced, and the Queensland Children's Hospital is being reserved as the state braces for a possibility of major surge in cases, especially among children. Queensland recorded 13 new locally acquired cases on Monday, 10 of which are children younger than 9 years old. Steph?
Marvy, aside from ramping up the hospital and COVID care facilities, are there additional steps being considered by the state government of Queensland?
Yes, Steph. Health Minister Yvette Diaz has requested 150,000 doses of AstraZeneca to be allocated and sent to their state as soon as possible. Moreover, Chief Health Officer Young is encouraging all frontliners to get vaccinated to bring the current record from 80% to 100% of health workers being fully immunized. Back to you, Steph.
Thank you, Marvy, reporting live. China imposes lockdowns among citizens as the COVID-19 Delta variant spreads across the country. Joselito Liquido tells us the details live. Yes, Joselito?
Steph, in an attempt to control the spread of Delta variant, with 55 new cases in China, millions are urged to stay home during strict lockdowns. Areas of which have been virus-free are now having citizens undergo mass testing with contact tracing set in place and those in close contact advised to quarantine at home. Various cities have mandated lockdowns like Suzhou City, where a 3-day home lockdown was put in place by the government to help initiate mass testing and vaccination programs. Additionally, travel restrictions are enforced by the government, with Beijing capital shutting down transport through rails, bus, and airways. Only those essentially traveling are permitted to enter if tested negative. Currently, there are 1,157 active cases in China, with 1,133 in mild condition and 24 in serious or critical conditions. Fortunately, 60% of the Chinese population have been inoculated against COVID-19 and have provided evidence of protection. Steph?
Joselito, how did the Delta variant enter China specifically?
Steph, it has been reported that the first cases of the Delta variant entered the nation mid-July through a flight from Moscow headed to Nanjing, the eastern Chinese city. This was then transmitted to the cleaning staff of the airport. Shortly after that, cases have spread throughout the country at a vast rate, with cases being seen in Hainan Island, south of China, almost 2,000 kilometers from Nanjing City. Back to you, Steph.
Thank you, Joselito, for that report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. Good evening.
The Commission on Elections says the proposed online voter registration during the hard lockdown in NCR is not possible. Dante Amento tells us why.
Commission on Elections or COMELEC Director and spokesperson James Jimenez explains anyone who wants to be registered in the upcoming elections needs to physically visit the COMELEC office or their satellite offices to complete the process. There are laws which require biometrics such as fingerprint, signature before someone can be officially registered.
Yung online registration, yung magsisimula ka ng proseso sa online tapos matatapos ka rin online, wala talaga yun. Hindi mangyayari yun. Bakit? Under the law, Republic Act 8189, kailangan ng personal appearance sa voter registration. Pangalawa, under the mandatory biometrics law, kailangan ka ng biometrics, obviously, no? So, hindi ka naman pwede magbigay ng biometrics over the air. Talagang kailangan personal appearance din.
Thus, during the 2 weeks ECQ implementation, about 50,000 individuals cannot be registered. But Jimenez believes there will be enough time for them after the hard lockdown as the voter registration will end on September 30, 2021. The COMELEC reports that they have surpassed the 60 million target of registered voters for the 2022 elections. 4.6 million are new voters and 20,000 are from the mall registrations.
Relatively speaking, hindi yan ganyan kalaki, right? I mean, we have to keep in mind na yung targets ng COMELEC naabot na natin, nalampasan pa natin, ano? So, ito na lang yung mga huli talaga na hindi pa na ipapasok. So, unfortunately, dahil nga nagtagal-tagal din sila, ang ating registration simula pa last year, no? September 2020, hindi pa sila nagpaparehistro hanggang ngayon.
The COMELEC asks the public's understanding for the temporary suspension of voter registrations, particularly in NCR starting this Friday until August 20, 2021.
Huwag natin aalisin sa isip natin na mahalaga ang election participation. Marami sa inyo rehistrado na, meron na lang ilang hindi pa narirehistro. Konting pasensya lang po. Babalik din ang registration natin dito sa NCR. In the meantime, kung kayo naman ay hindi tiga NCR, magparehistro na po kayo hanggang maaari.
The COMELEC also reminds the public that voter registrations are still ongoing until August 5. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The use of body-worn cameras or alternative recording devices in police operations is now mandatory. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police Directorate for Operations has already issued a memorandum containing the general protocols for the use of the body-worn cameras in the execution of search and arrest warrants as well as warrantless arrest. This after the Supreme Court's rule on the use of body cameras take effect. PNP Chief Police General Guillermo Eleazar said, police operatives are required to submit a copy of the video to the court along with the affidavit attesting the authenticity of the recording while returning the warrant. PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Ronaldo Olay said the gadget should not be turned off on the duration of their duty.
Ang kautusan ng ating Chief PNP dyan, Police General Guillermo Eleazar na sundin yung mga guidelines na ito, no? para mawala na yung agam-agam pagdududa ng ating mga kababayan, no, sa mga operations na ginagawa ng ating kapulisan.
If in case they fail to comply with the guidelines on the use of body cameras, the police is required to submit an explanation.
Well, ayon sa direktiba ng Supreme Court ay kailangan mailagay sa affidavit nila or maipaliwanag sa korte na nag-issue ng search warrant o warrant of arrest kung bakit hindi gumana yung body-worn camera, no? At kung meron mang paglabag dito, no, willful disobedience ay siyempre administratibong kaso ang kanilang haharapin.
The Supreme Court last month issued a resolution detailing how the PNP can utilize the body-worn camera during operations. The PNP has distributed 2,696 body camera to 171 police stations and units nationwide. But General Eliasar said they still need 30,000 units for 1,500 to 1,700 PNP units. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, more Filipino athletes are writing history at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Filipino female boxer Nesty Petesio takes home a silver medal in the women's featherweight final. Meanwhile, Filipino boxer Carlo Paalam won in the quarterfinals of men's flyweight division in Tokyo Olympics. Nerissa Dando reports.
Philippine athletes have officially secured 4 medals to bring home from the Tokyo Olympics. Filipino boxer Carlo Paalam just defeated world champion Shakubedin Zurub from Uzbekistan during the quarterfinals of men's flyweight division held at 10 a.m. in Japan. Paalam is now set to fight for gold medal against Rumei Tanaka from Japan. Meanwhile, Filipino boxer Nesty Petesio has won the silver medal in women's featherweight boxing competition. Petesio is the first Filipina who won an Olympic silver medal in boxing and the third silver medalist in the Olympic Games. Filipinos here in Japan are very proud of the performances of the Filipino athletes in this Olympic season.
Manalo matalo, proud kami sa inyo. So binawasan ng Panginoon, maging successful lang yung mga laban.
So bilang Pilipino, masaya ako para sa kanya, masaya ako para sa bansa namin.
The Malacanang has also extended their congratulations for the victory of its Filipino athletes.
We congratulate Nesty. She made us very proud, and as usual, no, ang kwento po ni Nesty ay kwento ng buong sambayan ng Pilipino. Tayo po ay naghirap, nangarap, nagwagi. Congratulations po sa ating mga manlalaro sa Olympics.
It is indeed a historic event for the Philippines because for the first time, we have secured 4 medals in the prestigious Summer Games, 1 gold medal, 1 silver medal, and assured bronze medals for Filipino boxers Jeremiah Marshall and Carlo Paalam. This feat has surpassed the Olympic performance of the Philippines in 1932 Los Angeles Games, where 3 Filipino athletes brought home 3 bronze medals. Nerissa Dando, UNTV News and Rescue, Japan. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Athletes from around the world have to work and sacrifice a lot to be able to win an Olympic medal. But how much is it actually worth? Dale De Castro reports.
Olympians participating in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games this year are competing for the chance to write a page in the history books and hopes to bring home a medal. This time for each games, the design of the medals are different. A work made by Junichi Kawanishi. Each medal won by athletes are 85 millimeters in diameter and has a range in thickness from 7.7 millimeters to 12.1 millimeters. Awarded gold medals are made from gold-plated pure silver containing only 6 grams of gold out of the total weight of 556 grams and has a value of $800, while silver medals are made from pure silver with a weight of 550 grams. The value is about $450. Bronze contains red brass, which is 95% copper and 5% zinc, carrying the lowest value of $5. Although medal holds a priceless sentimental value to athletes, more and more Olympic medals are seen to be getting sold in pawn shops and auction blocks this year. Several former Olympians have resorted to sell their medals over the years due to financial hardships, while others for philanthropic reasons. Earlier this month, 3 sales of medals are handled at an auction block. One of them is a first-place silver medal from the first modern Olympics in Athens, 1896, that was sold for $180,111. While athletes like the former British Kelly Sotterton, who won a bronze medal twice, are against with the idea of selling their awarded medals. She stated that she would never sell her medals as it reminds all the effort and hard works she had paid off. Dale De Castro, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Over a week after her historic win, Filipino Olympic gold medalist Heidelin Diaz thanks her supporters for the unwavering support. She also hopes that the Philippine government will continue supporting the next Filipino Olympians. Now that she has bagged a gold medal, what's next for Heidelin Diaz? Details in this report.
There was no stopping Olympic gold medalist Heidelin Diaz in reaching her goals. After winning the country's very first Olympic gold, Heidelin aims to bag another achievement to get her much-awaited diploma. In one of her vlogs last year, the Filipino Olympian even shared how she balances her training and studies.
Gusto ko mag-graduate na. Hopefully by next year. Hopefully magawa ko yung thesis sa business management sa College of St. Benilde.
Heidelin is not yet retiring as she plans to continue representing the country in competitions abroad.
Baka maglalaro ako sa World Championship, then after that SEA Games, tapos maglalaro ako sa Asian Games, then titignan kung kaya ng katawan, kaya pa, push.
The road to Olympics was no easy feat. Heidelin recalls the hardships that she and her team went through while in Malaysia for training due to series of restrictions.
Akala namin di namin ma-survive. Akala namin walang mangyayari. Nung lockdown, syempre parang mentally, emotionally, talagang yung anxiety sobrang taas na parang saan kami magtitira? Yung tanong as an athlete, saan ako magte-training? May Olympics pa. Nakahanap kami, nagkapag-Airbnb, nagkapag-training kami hindi sa gym, sa condo. Nung nag-training kami sa condo, yung bote lang ng tubig, tapos tumatakbo kami sa parking lot. Good thing may family kami doon, na yung Malaysian family na tumulong sa amin. Kahit di kami magkadugo, kahit di kami same ng country, tinanggap nila kami sa bahay nila.
When asked about the challenges that she had faced in her almost 2 decades of weightlifting journey, Heidelin says she will never forget these 3. Her loss in 2012 London Olympics, suffering a serious injury, and her inclusion in the government's Aus DOTr matrix in 2019.
Noong 2012, nakakahiya man, pero 0 ako noon. Flag bearer ako, pero hindi ko nagawa yung ayos. Nakakahiya, 2 weeks kong iniyakan. Kung malala nyo na matrix ako, hindi ko alam bakit. Pero, syempre sa akin masakit yun. Sa family ko masakit yun. Pero ngayon, napatawad ko naman, naintindihan ko. Baka may reason si God kasi pinatibay niya yung loob ko.
As the country celebrates her victory, the Filipino Olympic gold medalist hopes the government will continue supporting Filipino players in the upcoming Olympics and give Filipino athletes more recognition they deserve.
Nag-improve ng PSC kasi ngayon, naintindihan na nila ang importansya ng support system and sports science behind the success of every athlete. Sana maibigay yung anong kailangan talaga sa whole ng Filipino athletes. At alam mo yung hinihingi ko na may binigay ng benefits sa athlete, may ID na kami. And sana yung restaurant establishment bigyan ang 20% na discount para sa athlete sa buong bansa.
For now, Heidelin is still in quarantine in Manila. As the National Capital Region goes into a stricter community quarantine on Friday, Heidelin could not help but miss her family, which she has yet to see for over a year now. With the winnings that came with her success, Heidelin plans to give back to her church, her community, and the weightlifting industry in the Philippines.
Sa lahat ng mga Pilipino, thank you so much sa pagpapanood ng laro naming mga Filipino athletes, sa pag-include sa prayers nyo. Tapos sumigaw kayo sa laro namin, and hopefully tuloy-tuloy na mag-unite tayo as Filipino.
For Filipino weightlifters and athletes who aspire to be like her, Heidelin has this to say.
Kung nakaya ni Ate Heidelin, kaya nyo rin manalo sa Olympics, kaya nyo rin maging champion sa life. So, ito ang gold para sa inyo. Tiwala sa sarili, tiwala kay God, tiwala sa mga taong naniwala sa inyo.
Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And before we close, we will leave you with a final word giving glory to God from the book of Psalms, chapter 11, verse 10. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they do, that his commandments, his praise endureth forever."
And those are the reasons behind the news, August 3, 2021. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.